Yeah, because you see, one of the problems with human beings is they have made some major mistakes, right? They have made some major mistakes in terms of what's real and who they are. What worse mistakes can you make than that? What's real and who you are? And you would think that the symptoms that people experience might be an indicator that something's wrong and that something needs to be looked at because something's not working. The indicators, what are the indicators? Psychological and emotional suffering. You know, the number of people who are suffering from anxiety and depression is off the charts. If you're suffering emotional and psychological suffering in terms of feeling anxious all the time, or uptight, or tense, or stressed out, or depressed because you feel hopeless about your life, right? When that comes up for people and you go to the conventional approach, you go to get treated conventionally, right? What they do is they treat your personality. Because why? Because you have a disordered personality. That's why you're suffering, right? So we're going to correct what's wrong in your personality. We're going to correct your thinking because your thinking is wrong. And if we get you to think correctly, then you'll stop suffering, right? The workability of that approach is very minimal. And I'm speaking as a psychologist. I've been doing this work for 45 years, right? I've worked with some of the most difficult people on the planet. Okay, I worked as a psychologist in maximum security prison, okay? So I understand the psyche from various points of view, and I can tell you that most people are suffering from ignorance more than anything else. From ignorance, that they don't know who they are, they don't know the reality of what's going on, and they keep trying to use what they were told as a child. They keep trying to use the conditioning, you know, what they were given to work with in terms of an understanding of your identity and an understanding of reality. They keep trying to use that, and it still keeps not working, right? And so as it keeps not working, you see more and more people present you with the opportunity for relief, don't you? As human beings keep suffering, you see more and more opportunities for relief. You can see it on Facebook, you can see it on the evening news, you can see it on anywhere you get information, right? More opportunities for you to be able to avoid suffering. You can do it with gummies now. You can do it with medical marijuana. You can do it with alcohol. You can do it with prescription drugs. And while you're on the drugs and smoking the pot and drinking the alcohol, you can watch TV that'll make you brain dead for given periods of time, right? So you can put yourself in this state of kind of tranquilized obviousness. Put yourself in this state of being in a tranquilized state and try and keep yourself in that state. And every time you seem to be coming out of it, you know, you have to go back and, you know, take some more medication, right? How about an alternative to that mess? How about an alternative to that mess? And the alternative, how about if we look to see what is the actual cause? Instead of just controlling the symptoms, right? What is the actual cause? Doesn't it seem to make sense to try and find the actual cause? You know, one of my teacher friends talks about this, and the way he talks about it is he says, suppose you had a dog that kept shitting all over the house. What would you do if you kept finding shit all over the house, right? Would you just get a bigger broom and a nicer pail to clean it up and spend more time cleaning up shit, right? Or would you find the dog? Find the dog. You find the source of the shit, right? Deal with that, then you won't have to clean it up, right? Same thing here. Find the source of the suffering. You know, if you can find, if there's a source of the suffering that you can find, maybe you can address the source, and then you don't have to keep taking the medication to control your nervous system. Maybe your nervous system can settle down naturally and start to experience a state of well-being. Because that's the problem. Most of our nervous systems are behaving as if somebody's chasing you with a knife, isn't it? I remember being in a large group consciousness training many, many years ago. And everybody that stood up to share, right, would say before they started talking, oh, I'm terrified to be here and stand up and share right now. You know, everybody would say that, right? And eventually the person leading the program said to one of the people that stood up, listen, I'm talking to this person now, but I want everybody in the room to hear what I'm saying. Nobody's chasing you with a knife. Yeah. Stop standing up and saying that you're sorry for your existence. Stop standing up and apologizing for being terrified when nothing's happening. Right. But you see, that's not going to cure anything. That was just pointing at the source of the problem, right? The only thing that's going to cure something for you and I as human beings who came into this world and got programmed with a program that is now running in your brain and in your mind that doesn't work. That's the problem. So to fix that problem, what do you have to do? First thing you have to do is start to pay attention to the program that doesn't work so you can see that. Yeah. So you start to pay attention to the program that doesn't work when you see that. And if you see that, you will experience the successful experience, because seeing something that doesn't work, that will never work, is a success, because you'll stop trying to make it work. Right? What do they say about insanity, right? Keep doing the same thing, thinking something else is going to happen. That's a description of most human beings' lives, isn't it? Keep doing the same shit over and over again, and when it doesn't work, you blame other people, you blame the world, you even blame yourself for it not working. How workable is that situation, right? So in the teachings and in the practices that come from 2,500, 3,000 years ago, the wheel that we're practicing here has been around for a long time. We don't have to reinvent that. We should have gratitude for the fact that we have the teachings that come down through us through the traditions that tell us very clearly that this is the problem, the one that I just described. And then they say, okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're seeing what's causing the suffering, okay? So let's look at what could make a difference with that. And what did they come up with? Okay, good. What did they come up with? They came up with, let's sit still and be silent and not move and bring our attention away from the thought process. Because one thing that I notice is when I'm suffering, the thoughts that I'm having are somehow related to my suffering. What I'm thinking is related to my suffering, right? It's telling me, the voice in my head is telling me what's going on, and sometimes that's scary. Sometimes what that voice is telling me is scary. Sometimes what that voice is telling me pisses me off. Sometimes what that voice telling me is frustrating. Sometimes that voice, because it keeps repeating the same unworkable realities, it leaves me feeling hopeless, because every time I follow what it says to do, it never works. So what do? Take some more drugs? So if you sit still and start to look at, okay, what is it that's getting all bent out of shape? What is it that's unworkable? What is it that's stimulating my muscles to be tense all the time? So start to sit still and start to pay attention, and I notice that there is this voice in my head that's always there, and doesn't let me sleep. It's always talking to me about myself and everything else that's going on around me in my life. I take that voice to be me. I trust that voice. I believe that voice. I listen to that voice, and it leaves me in a condition in which I'm suffering a lot of the time. So what the ancient traditions decided to do, let's sit still and be quiet, and let's move our attention away from that process of that voice talking and pay attention to the belly moving as the body is breathing. Let's move attention away from that operation and focus it on the belly moving and the body breathing. We can't stay there very long because thoughts happen and bring our attention back to the thought activity. But when we realize we're back there, we can bring it back to the belly again. And if we keep doing this over and over again, the reality that exists when we're away from thinking starts to reveal itself. The reality that exists when the attention is away from thinking starts to reveal itself. What does it reveal? As I continue to practice and I'm experiencing what it's like to be aware of the body breathing when I'm away from thinking, I start to experience this sense of well-being, this sense of calm. The body starts to relax. The mind starts to calm down because I am not involved with it. and I discover I can be out of my mind. I discover that my attention can be away from my mind and I am still here, and this feels comfortable, this feels relaxed. And then what the teachings tell us is if you keep up with this practice, eventually you'll start to notice that when you're away from the mind, you're experiencing yourself as the awareness that's aware of the body breathing, not the personality and not the voice in your head. The awareness of the body breathing. Oh, that's interesting. That's a whole new possibility for who I am, being the awareness. And when I'm being the awareness, when I'm resting as awareness, even if it's for a brief moment, I feel something let go. I feel a relief occur. Maybe these teachings have something going for them, because the teachings tell us if you keep up with this practice over time and you keep studying these teachings, eventually you'll discover that what's happening when you move your attention away from thinking and you're paying attention to the belly moving with the breath, you've discovered a portal to another reality. You discovered a gate to another reality. They call it in Zen the gateless gate, right? Because there is no gate there. It's an open secret. It's an open reality that's there all the time, but it's only there when you pay attention to it. You can't get out of the state of mind that you're in unless you discover you're not a state of mind, right? You can't get out of the state of mind and you're in unless you discover that you are awareness, not a mental condition. And as you continue to practice this and you study the teachings, you come to realize that what the teachings tell us is you can trust that if you do this practice every single day for a set period of time, long enough for the effect to take effect, you'll get better at it. It will naturally begin to become a situation in which you spend more time in the experience of your true nature, in the natural state, and you spend more time in experience of being relaxed, grounded, and settled while you're sitting there. Becoming more familiar. One of the ways the word definition has been interpreted is familiarity. You're practicing becoming familiar with what it's like to be you. That's what you're doing. You see, this is a lot different than you hear meditation described in a lot of places, because in a lot of places it's only described in terms of a technique for stress reduction. But here I'm telling you that this is a technique for self-realization. This is a technique to discover that who you are has always been there in the background unnoticed. That what you are has always been in the background unnoticed. And it has to be there because without awareness, the show's over, right? Awareness is the show, right? So through practicing meditation, you start to notice, you start to become aware, especially if you're studying the teachings, you start to notice and become aware of what's always been here, what's always been true, that hasn't been noticed. And now you're practicing noticing it. You're doing it in a formal way with formal meditation. But as this process of practicing it formally starts to produce results, it becomes possible to begin to practice it informally too. So not just formally, not just when I'm sitting, staying still for a set period of time, but now that I got the hang of this and now that I have a sense of what this is all about, I can begin to practice this when I open my eyes in the morning until I close them at night. And what do? As often as I can remember, rest as awareness for brief moments. Now the practice is not just formal, and now it's just not part of the time, it's all the time. And if you practice this all the time, gradually what will happen is your sense of your identity will gradually start to move away from being a person and a personality and start to rest in the truth of your nature, which is awareness itself. And as that happens, as you do these practices, and as that happens, you begin to experience your life as a possibility for enjoyment, a possibility for relaxation, a possibility for transcendence, a possibility for transcendence. Because as I continue to learn, as I continue to have a direct experience and see for myself what's so about my true nature, it begins to become evident to me that it is formless, that awareness is formless and it's not physical. And then it becomes apparent to me that that which is not physical and formless doesn't exist in time. It only exists in the present moment. It doesn't exist in the past or the future. These things just come to me as realizations as I continue to practice and experience the truth. What's this then imply? It implies that I can't die. Now we're getting down to some good stuff, right? It implies that I can't die because if my true nature has no form and it doesn't exist in time, then there's no death. It couldn't be the case that I die. The body may die, and when it dies, the brain may stop functioning, and that may take the personality out of commission, but the awareness hasn't been affected. Everybody thinks your private world is private. It ain't private. I'm a psychologist, right? I'm a psychologist, so I listen to people who tell me in confidence and privacy what their thoughts are. So I can tell you, I've talked to thousands of people about their thoughts, and there's only about 10 thoughts. There's only about 10 thoughts that they're having, right? So you think your thoughts are unique and different and special. No, they're the same as other people's thoughts, right? If you listen to your speaking, you'll hear that you take yourself to be the personality that's practicing this. You can hear it in your speaking. You say, oh, I tried this and I tried that, and no matter what I tried, that. You're being the personality. See, you can't bring the personality along on this ride. You can't. That's the problem. The personality is the problem. When you think you're something that you're not, right? You're trying to live in a world in which you're going to experience conflict because you're not who you really are, and the world's not what it really is, it's what you think it is, and then you keep being surprised at the fact that it doesn't work. You can experience skillful means. You know, in Buddhism, one of the things they talk about is skillful means, and they say, what does skillful means? Skillful means when you begin to wake up and you actually see things as they are, then you can see what would work. That's skillful means. But if you're living in your head and what's determining your behavior is thinking and feelings, good luck with that, right? Because it's very distorted. It's very distorted. It's seeing everything as a possible threat all the time. If you pay attention, you'll see it. And the way to end the struggle, right, is to stop depending on your thinking as a way to understand what's going on here. You can't think the truth. You can't think it. You can't figure out the truth. You can't think it. All you can do is relax and allow yourself to notice it. Yeah, you can see, given the truth, which is that everybody is the same reality, everybody is the same consciousness. It's not that we share. What the personality do is the personality will collapse the truth. The personality will corrupt the truth. And it'll turn the idea that we are all the same awareness into we all share the same awareness. You see how that got corrupted?
That's where I got stuck.
Yeah. So the voice in your head keeps lying to you and telling you that about things that, in a way that's not true. And if you keep believing that, you will keep suffering. It's really that simple. Right? So as a psychologist now, when I work with people, right, I try and be kind and nice to their personality, right? So that their personality can relax enough and get calm enough so that I can tell them the truth, which is that you're the problem. Yeah, but I got to set it up right, you see. So if I set it up right and I say you're the problem, if I set it up right, they'll know that who I'm talking about is not who they really are. You see what I'm saying? And then it's easy to talk about how crazy you are because you're not the one that's crazy. But if I try and talk to you about how crazy you are and you think you're the one that's crazy, you're going to defend yourself, aren't you? You're going to resist what I'm saying. You don't like hearing that. I'm not crazy, you are, right? Yeah, so first I have to get you to understand you're not the thinker of the thoughts. You're not your body. You're not your conditioning. That stuff's the stuff that doesn't work. And you're not that, and that's the problem. And if I set it up right so that I say that to you, now we can get on a real possibility. Now we can get on to a real path that can end you up experiencing what you want more than anything else, which is to be happy, right? To be happy, to be satisfied, to be calm, to experience the world as a friendly place instead of a horror show, right? But that can happen because the world's appearing in your mind, right? And the appearance is not the reality. The appearance is an appearance, right? And so you can stop being afraid of the appearance because the appearance is just an appearance. When you go to the movies, you may be scared because what's happening on the screen, right, is scary, right? But you know that it's not real. It's just an appearance. And so you don't react to it. In fact, you enjoy it. You like feeling afraid, right? You like being involved in mysteries and corruption and all the crazy shit that goes on in the world. You like watching that, right? Because when you're watching that, you can feel comfortable because it's not happening to me. But it is happening to you. Because if you start paying attention to your own mind, you'll see your mind is a corrupt operation and it's torturing you. See, that takes it right to the bottom line, right? If you don't have control, it means that you're here to witness what's happening instead of think it's happening to you. That's all. And fear is very useful because, see, the thing is this. If you're awake, you can start paying attention so that when you're afraid, you can look because you have something other than what's going on in your head. You can look and see, is there something really threatening me? If it's no, then that fear is part of my neurosis. But on the other hand, if I look and say something is threatening me, then I use the energy of that fear to do what I need to do to get away or fight. So when you're awake, you see things as they are, not how you think they are. Somebody gave me a t-shirt, Gwen gave me a t-shirt. It says, meditation, not what you think it is.
So fear is energy?
Excuse me? Of course, all emotions are energy. Look at the word. Emotion, energy in motion. That's what emotions are, energy in motion, right? Energy that's in motion, it's moving in my body, right? It's not something to be afraid of. You can make friends with that energy so that when it's not necessary, you can relax and not waste it. And when it is necessary, you'll have it available to use it with skillful means because you're awake. But the reality of it is there is nothing but innocence. Human beings are completely innocent because what's committing the crime is a program playing in their head that they think they are, or they wouldn't do those things. If an awake person has a natural sense of morality, they simply wouldn't do things because if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. That's so crystal clear that it wouldn't make sense to do that. But if you're lost in the sauce and you believe you're separate from everybody else and this is an unfair game and the only way you're going to get what you deserve is to take it, there we go.